Well, the scouting report is in and it reads the Pistons can't shoot, so let's play zone defense. Hey, Pistons fans, welcome back to another edition of Pistons Daily, a podcast where we bring you daily content about your Detroit Pistons. I'm your host, Tony Nash, and I want to welcome you to the show today. I want to remind you that we are on our way to 2,500 subscribers, so if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Share this channel with all your favorite Pistons fans out there. And make sure to hit that notification bell so that you can be made aware every time we drop fresh new content for you here on Pistons Daily. So we said the other night was an ugly win, and tonight was an absolute ugly loss. Tonight's loss to the Bucks makes us 2-3 in our last 5 games. And we've really been struggling recently. And again, teams are starting to play zone against us because they realize our lack of an outside shooter, particularly without Duncan Robinson in the game. And so tonight we shot 40% from the field. Not great. We're not going to win games most times shooting 40%. We shot 33% from 3. We were 14 for 43. We took 43 three-point attempts tonight because they really packed it in. And we got to figure out ways to attack this zone. I realized the best way to beat a zone is to hit some outside shots, extend the defense, attack the middle. But we got to work that high post. We got to attack the seams. We got to find ways to get behind the zone and get some easier buckets because the outside shooting is not working for our team. We do not have a lot of depth when it comes to outside shooting. We had some big threes tonight. 13 of them is more than our normal number. We're usually around 10 or 11. But it took 43 shots to get there. And so a lot of tough moments. We started the game out with a nice energy, nice big lead. Then Giannis went down. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. And it seemed to just really, it almost took the energy out of the Pistons. Like our effort kind of went down. And, of course, they made a run, and it was a back-and-forth game the whole time. But I want to say the sky is not falling. This is why the NBA is a long season. This is why teams do not typically go on 13, 14, 15-game winning streaks. It's a good league. Every team has good players, and on any given night, a team can have a guy get hot or a couple of guys get hot, catch the momentum in their home arena, and then you could be having an off night. You can have some ejections. You can have foul trouble. Things can happen. Turnovers, bad defense, bad shooting, 14 for 43. These things happen in basketball, particularly in the NBA. So this is not a sky is falling moment. Do we have some concerns? Absolutely. Some of you have really come at me in the comments about, I'm acting like the Pistons are having a bad season. And if you're watching, that's not at all what I'm saying. But again, I always think it's important that we don't address. It's important that you address the things in a win that you would address in a loss. And there are things that we have to improve upon if we're going to be a contender. So when I'm talking, I'm not thinking about how do we do just in this game. I'm thinking, how do we look? How are we developing to look as a team that's going to compete in April and May and hopefully into June? That's what I want. And so, yeah, it's a regular season game. It's early season. It's against the Bucks. Doesn't really matter. A bunch of other good teams in the East lost last night. And so, we're still going to be number 1 in the standings, blah, 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 all of that. I get it. We're having a great season. I'm very pleased with the record that we have. I love our coach. I love our team. I love our players. I've defended almost every one of these guys, maybe with the exception of Karis LeVert. And so don't come at me in the comments because I'm not saying that the Pistons are not having a phenomenal season. They're overachieving where I thought they would be. And so I love what I'm seeing. But the makeup of this team lends me to believe that this is a legitimate NBA championship contender. And a lot of things are going to have to happen to get us there, but we have some good pieces, and this can happen even this year. I truly believe that. But if we're going to get there, there are some things that have to be addressed. And so when I talk about these things on the podcast, these are the things I'm referring to. I'm thinking long term, but the sky is not falling, Pistons fans. It's a long season. And teams are going to come more and more amped up to play the Pistons because they're the number 1 team. They're getting a lot of national press, and that makes people not take us lightly. There was an NBA player a couple years ago from Houston, I'm trying to remember who it was, that basically just said, nobody really looks forward to playing the Pistons. It's an easy game on the schedule or whatever. That's a night where we tell our other guys, go get 40 tonight. And that is no longer the case with the Pistons. Today on 97.1 The Ticket, Karch and Anderson said that, one of the guys, I think it was Karch, said he just thinks good teams really still don't get that excited about the Pistons. So even when we go on these West Coast road trips and we're playing teams like OKC and Denver and LA, even if we get a win, it's not a true indicator, because he's saying those teams probably are not that excited about playing the Pistons. And I would say there was a time when that was true. I don't know that that's true this year. I think teams are looking at the Pistons as a measuring stick. Like, are they living up to the hype? Are they as good as everybody's saying? Are they truly a contender? And so I think you're seeing teams come in and they want to prove that the Pistons are not. Sorry about that. They want to prove that the Pistons are not living up to the hype. But I believe that they are. But listen, teams are figuring it out. You've seen the last couple of nights, teams are coming at us with zone, especially because Duncan is hurt. And that's going to continue to happen, I think. Why would teams not? I mean, our scoring is down. Our outside shooting attempts are up. Our shooting percentage is down. And so why would teams not run that zone? And so I think we need to buckle in and plan on seeing more and more of that. And this is why I think we need to add some outside shooting. Again, I'm going to say, love to see Beasley come back, trying to follow along with what's going on. Nothing new to report tonight, but I hope to see Beasley back. He would really, really help us. Obviously, Duncan helps us a lot with that. Tonight we had 11 guys see the floor, and all 11 of those guys scored. We had 4 guys in double digits. Cade, low-key night, again, had a hard time getting to the interior. Did not shoot well from the outside. Seemed very flat tonight. I don't know if his legs are tired, but all of his shots seemed short. He started out with a big 3 right at the beginning and then just couldn't hit when he ended up 1 for 7. He had 17 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. He was 5 for 15 from the field, 1 for 7 from 3. So, not a horrible night, but not what we've become accustomed to with Cade. They did a good job isolating him and minimizing his impact. Tobias Harris was probably the player of the game tonight, 20 points. He was 5 for 8 from 3, so he hit some big threes when we needed them. Couldn't get us one at the end when we needed one, but had some big moments from Tobias. I love seeing Tobias playing consistently. The other night he was not great. He actually shot pretty poorly. But last night he was really, really good and had a good game. Asar had 10 points, but only on 7 shots. So again, I understand that Asar is a interior player, likes to drive, and when they're packing in that paint, it makes it hard, but only took 7 shots tonight. JD, 8 points tonight on only 7 shots again. But with a guy like JD, it's really going to be hard for him to get the shots he's accustomed to in a zone. Now, this is why I think he's going to have to work the high post and really get into his bag with that mid-range jumper that he has. I think he's got to start showing that. We've seen him hit that several times this year, and I think he's going to have to start to rely on that a little bit, as he's not going to get as much in the post and in the interior as he has been used to. Jaden Ivey tonight looked great, in my opinion. He had 15 points. They actually gave him 19 minutes tonight, so it's good to see his minutes going in the other direction. They subbed him early. I believe he was the first one off the bench tonight. Still would love to see him start without Duncan Robinson in there. I think, we've been starting Dennis Jenkins, who, still am on the Dennis train, but, at the beginning especially, trying to do a little too much, kind of calmed down, got poised, hit some shots for us, took care of the ball. But Jaden Ivey came in looking a lot more confident. Again, he had 19 minutes, but that was in 4 different stints. So these are really short stints. But he came in, was aggressive, hit some great shots, ended up with 15 points in that short amount of time. So I think that shows you his ability to put the ball in the bucket. A lot of people are talking about right now the Pistons, will they get a good second option? Again, I think JD is proving himself to be a great second option, but on nights like tonight, I think we're going to, if we continue to develop Jaden Ivey, then I think he really can be that genuine second option. You hear JB talking about in the press conference last night that it's going to just take some time. They're trying to slowly work him back in. I like to see, again, that they're working his minutes up tonight, giving him more opportunities. I'd like to see him have a little bit longer stints on the floor, even if that meant he went in fewer times, but maybe longer stints to let him really get into the flow and the rhythm of the game. But, he's still not super comfortable with the ball, getting stripped a little bit. Shots are falling a little flat at times, but he's really, really improving. And I think if we can continue to keep him going up, he's going to be a big help to us. And then Paul Reed came in the fourth quarter after Stu went out and just gave us some really quality minutes. Does not Paul Reed always give us quality minutes? And I really just don't understand why he's not seeing the floor more. I really think in a right rotation you can give him more minutes. But he looked good, man. Defensively, offensively, hit some big shots, had a few big blocks, got some rebounds. Bobby Portis gave him the business a little bit because he was pulling him out, which opened up the interior, which made us give up some easy buckets down the stretch. So all of those things have an impact. After we lost Stu, Portis got going. We saw Stu got his first technical. I think it was in the second quarter, maybe the third. And then, right at the end of the third or maybe beginning of the fourth, he got into it with Portis, got in his face, kind of put his fist up. And that was enough for the refs to say it's a technical. He got ejected from the game. He honestly kept his cool more than the Stewart of old has. Normally he'd have been, in a fight, rushing the bench. But it seems like they calmed him down. But that was big for us, especially defensively, because Bobby Portis had not been, I don't think he even had scored up to that point. And once Stu went out, Bobby Portis got going. I think it gave him a little bit of juice. The fans got into it that Stewart was out, created momentum for them. And all those things went downhill. And so, we got to stay poised in those moments. I get it that he got hit in the face twice. I love Stewart's energy, man. Honestly, you get a little excited when you see him getting in the face. You love the little fight. Brings you back to those old Bad Boys days. But it did cost us a lot in the game. And so I think he's got to keep himself under control in those times. And again, he did a pretty good job tonight. Ron had some good moments again. I think Ron, last couple games, has looked pretty good. Ron had some good moments, some good defense, had a few good buckets. But again, limited minutes for him. Karis LeVert was not good tonight. He had 4 points on 1 of 10 shooting. 8 of his 10 shots were from behind the three-point line. There was multiple times where he could have hit a three that would have put us back in it or would have tied the game or given us the lead. Missed them, but it wasn't just him. Everybody was missing him tonight, so I can't necessarily blame just him for that. He had 2 really bad turnovers in the fourth that really hurt us, but everybody was turning the ball over. But not a great night for Karis. We only had 14 turnovers tonight, so that was lower than we've been the last couple of games. But he had 8. We had 8 in the fourth quarter, and so, man, 8 turnovers at the end, we can't do it. We just did not take care of the ball, and I believe that was the major contributing factor to our loss. So we see these teams are just packing in the paint, and it's effective. In the fourth quarter, we came out with a weird lineup again, and we kept them in there for 4 minutes, which we had a lead going into the fourth quarter that it was completely diminished, and they finally brought Cade back in. But we came in the fourth quarter with Javonte Green, Ron Holland, Isaiah Stewart, Karis LeVert, and Jaden Ivey. Those guys just did not get it done. Defensively even, they didn't do well. And then, of course, Stewart went out, and so then he was replaced with B-Ball Paul, which gave us some good minutes, as I mentioned earlier. But I'm not really sure about this lineup we have starting the fourth quarters where we need to get momentum. The fourth quarters had been our best quarters. During our win streak, the fourth quarters is when we really started to shine. In the last few games, we've looked rough in the fourth quarter. So, got to figure some things out. Kevin Porter Jr. had 26 points, had some big buckets for them. Rollins had 22. A.J. Green with 19 and hit some big threes for them. We had a 5-point lead with like a minute and a half to go. I thought, okay, we're going to be all right. And then all of a sudden they got a couple big threes. A.J. Green hit that big one, tied it, and then it just went downhill from there. Portis had 13, but most of them were in the fourth quarter, and maybe all of them were in the fourth quarter. It was all after Stewart went out, and so those were big buckets for them. And the Bucks are just 10-13. They just lost to the Nets and the Wizards with Giannis, and so you'd think when Giannis goes out, that should be a W for us. And I'll say it again: there's never an easy win in the NBA, but my goodness, man, we cannot be losing. These are the games that we gotta win. And sometimes when a team's good, maybe they don't take a team as seriously like this, but we got to take every game serious. Every win is important. and we got to continue to build on these things. And it seems like, we will get these big leads consistently, 10, 15, 20-point leads, and then we start to rotate, and the leads go away. And then we bring guys back in, we get the lead up, and then we rotate, and the leads go away. And I'm going to continue to harp on this until I see it change. And again, I'm not the coach. It's not my call. I've been saying it even when they were winning. The rotations are hurting us. It's maybe the time of them. It's maybe the lineups that we have together. It's the amount of rotation that happens. It's the fact that we have odd lineups playing together. But I also think the biggest thing is guys are sitting for long periods of time. So you think if a guy like Jalen Duren goes out with, let's say, 5 minutes to go in the first quarter, sits the entire first quarter, and then there's all that time between the first and the second. It's supposed to be 5 minutes, but depending on whether it's a national game or not, it could be longer. So that's 10 minutes of him sitting, and then he comes back in maybe 3 minutes, 4 minutes into the second. So that's another 9. That's 9 minutes. I'm sorry, that's 13, 14, 15 minutes of him sitting. And then if there's any timeouts in that or TV timeouts. So these guys could be sitting for maybe 20 real minutes of sitting, and you can really start to tighten up. You lose rhythm, and you start to get cold. And so I just think these long stints, and we got all these guys we're trying to develop and get minutes, but it's going to cause these kind of problems. It's going to continue to do it. It's going to contribute to the turnovers, and it's going to be something that we're just going to have to continue to work through. Again, it's not the sky is falling. I'm not blaming our coach. I'm going to give our coach some really high praise here in just a minute. I love JB. He's our guy, but there are things that we can improve upon. And so I will say this, JB, I talked a lot yesterday about, or maybe it was 2 days ago, about JB being like 20% on his challenges. He called a challenge in the second quarter, lost again. And I'm thinking, why are we calling a challenge right now? It's not really that pivotal of a moment. And we really could have used that challenge on that over and back in the fourth quarter where Cade got stripped and he went and recovered the ball, and they called it an over and back. I think he got stripped at least, and we could have challenged it then when we needed it. And then there was another play at the end where we could have challenged a foul that was called on Jalen Duren that fouled him out. That could have been challenged, but we didn't have him. And I just think JB is not using those challenges strategically. His record shows it. He's not winning a lot of them. Also, I think a lot of it is he's getting on the bad side of the officials. And so, tough. I love his passion, but we got to fix those things. So tonight, it was just a bad loss. We're going to bounce back. We're back home Friday night. We're going to see Milwaukee again this weekend. And so we'll bounce back. We'll be all right. But, tough loss for us tonight. Of course, we talked about Giannis going down. And there's nothing official been reported yet. But to me, it looked like it was an Achilles pop. The way it happened, it was a non-contact play. He kind of got, made that nice pass, and then as he went to run up the court, he pushed off, and he just fell and immediately called for, to go sit on the bench. And he just sat there, and you could tell in the way he was acting, he knew something popped. So I'm praying that it's not his Achilles. I understand that Giannis is in our division, and he's a great player, and he will give us a hard time, but you never want to see a great player like that sit out. I want us to beat the best when they have their best guys, and Giannis is an incredible player, one of the best in the NBA. Love his work ethic, love his attitude, and to see him go down like that was tough. Honestly, when I saw it, I thought, okay, this is going to be a sure dub for the Pistons. Didn't turn out that way, but just to see him go down was tough. So I'm hoping and praying for him that he's just not, it's not an Achilles injury. We've seen so many of those and guys sitting out. The NBA is better when guys like Giannis are in and playing and healthy. So we hope that he's okay, and our prayers are with Giannis tonight. The energy went down with our team after he got hurt. I just feel like we had a big momentum. We had like an 18-point lead in the first quarter, and then almost immediately it kind of went away. And so, Giannis is a great player. I'd actually had planned to talk about Giannis today because there are a ton of trade rumors going on about Giannis right now. Of course, it's all going all the way back to last season. People want Giannis. He's mentioned that he really wants Milwaukee to be committed to building around him. They got rid of some of the older guys like Chris Middleton and some of the other guys around the team. No Dame Lillard. And putting younger pieces around him. He's got some nice young pieces there. We haven't really got to see him much with them. And so is he going to stay in Milwaukee? We've heard it floated that the Knicks are incredibly interested. That would be terrible for the Pistons if Giannis goes to the Knicks. I guess depending on what they gave up. But if Giannis goes to the Knicks, that's tough. That's tough for the Pistons. That would be a bad day for Detroit because that's going to make them a very difficult team. But the Knicks are, I think, serious about him and are willing to give up some big pieces. I've also heard, in terms of teams in the East, the Heat are interested, the Hawks are interested, and of course, you see a lot of rumors that the Pistons are interested. And there's some teams out west, LA has expressed some interest, Houston, maybe San Antonio have expressed some interest. And who wouldn't be interested in Giannis? And why wouldn't he? So I have pretty much squashed every trade rumor that I've heard as like, that's not what we need. And I'm not saying that Giannis is what we need, especially if he's hurt, obviously, if he's hurt for a long period of time. But, man, Giannis is, an all-time great. He's at least a top 20 all-time player. Some conversations could put him top 15, or maybe some people might put him in the top 10. I don't think he's a top 10 player, but some people might say that he is. But he is an all-time great. And the things that he can do, any team would want Giannis on their squad. And so what are your thoughts about that? Would Giannis fit in Detroit if he were to come up, if he were to come available? Would he fit in Detroit? Would you want to see that? What would we be willing to give up? I think we could give up some pretty substantial pieces for Giannis. He's young enough to where you could get several years out of him. He's a championship player. He's a dominant force. Him alongside Cade Cunningham or Jalen Turin would be unbelievable. But who would we have to give up? Certainly we'd probably have to give up Ivy, Stewart, some of our other role guys, LeVert, some picks, probably a lot more than that, honestly. And so it's probably too rich for our blood. There's probably not much of a chance at all. But, if there were a chance to get Giannis without, doing what the Clippers did when just gutting their team and then giving all their picks away, I would love to hear what the proposal is. There's no real proposals from the Pistons right now or even being floated out there, but a lot of people are talking about it. And obviously with this injury tonight, that could change a lot of the conversation. But what do you think? Do you think Giannis is going to stay in Milwaukee? If you saw the injury, let me know what your thoughts. Do you think, it was an Achilles pop? That's what it looked like to me. He was kind of walking around on it, but a lot of times you see those guys after they do that. You remember when Kobe popped his? He just kind of got up and walked, shot his free throws, and he walked himself off the court with a very similar limp. So I'm really hoping that's not what it is, but it doesn't look good for him. But who do you think Giannis will end up with? Is he going to stay with the Bucks? Will he go to the Knicks? I don't want to see that. And honestly, any of those teams, if he went to the Heat, the Hawks, those would all be bad for Detroit. And so don't want to see that. But, what would we be willing to give up for him? And then I don't know if you heard, but yesterday CP3 got cut by the Clippers. I'm hearing reports by Shams that he was cut because his leadership style is very vocal, not just with the players, but with the coaches and even with the front office. And, CP3 can't do what he used to do. And so they cut, so he's maybe not as valuable, so they cut him. So I had the thought today of, would the Pistons benefit from signing CP3? Have no idea how much he would cost. We certainly have some money. We could certainly cut someone and have some open roster spots. Not that we need another guard, but we've talked that we need a real solid backup point guard. We're seeing that Danis has some great moments, but maybe he's not quite ready to be that guy yet. Is CP3 a good answer? Does his veteran leadership and experience, does having him in the locker room help a player like Cade and help, maybe give Cade some guidance in maybe taking care of the ball a little bit better and truly being, a point guard? CP3, one of the best point guards of all time. Of course, CP3 has never won a championship, so even though he's a phenomenal player, one of the best point guards, he's not proven to be a championship player. But what do you think? Should the Pistons consider signing CP3, putting him on the roster? Would he be an asset to us? Would it just be another person that we have to worry about rotating in? What are your thoughts? And but I think he could really help Cade in some ways, and so maybe just the locker room presence would be beneficial. And then I'm sure you heard, but Cade has won his second straight Player of the Month. So October and November, both NBA Player of the Month. Cade having a phenomenal season, 28 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, nearly averaging a triple-double, playing good every night, shooting 45% from the field. He's leading the league in fourth quarter points. Of course, most games he's been really, really big in clutch time. His team has a 17-5 record. And so why not? Cade is really balling out right now. Again, he's becoming a superstar right before our very eyes. There have been a few Pistons. They showed a stat on the game last night. There's been a few Pistons that have won Player of the Month. Chauncey Billups won it a couple times. Grant Hill won it. Dennis Rodman. Maybe Ben Wallace, I think it was. So not a ton of Pistons have gotten that award, but Cade's gotten it 2 months in a row. So really cool to see our superstar developing. But I think more importantly than that, we want to see wins, and I think Cade would agree. You've heard him say that on multiple interviews. He'd rather win Finals MVP than League MVP. He really wants to win a championship, and you can see that with the way he's playing. But congratulations to Cade Cunningham. The fans are loving it. The fans are behind you. You are our guy. We appreciate what you're doing. You're giving us something to cheer for every night. And even though last night was an ugly, ugly loss, we still appreciate what you're doing. And congratulations on being named Player of the Month. And then last but not least, let's round out the episode with our coach. Our coach just won Coach of the Month. And much deserved. A lot of early predictions are saying JB is Coach of the Year. Again, way too early to tell. If the Pistons can keep this up, there's no question. The way he's turned this team around is absolutely incredible. He was 12-2 in the month of November. He's got the team playing well. We have the third-ranked defense in the league, and he's just got these guys believing. He's. I said this before as a coach. Very few NBA coaches actually get to coach. I mean, they're just managing personalities, managing minutes. Some of these guys have built into their contract, how many minutes they're supposed to get per game and how many shot attempts and all this ridiculous stuff. And a lot of these players are just multi-million-dollar assets, and so these coaches have to protect them. And so you don't see a coach really getting to coach their guys. I always thought, Greg Popovich, love him or hate him, he was really, really coaching his guys, and they had tremendous success. They had like an 18-year run where they made the playoffs. Guys like Phil Jackson really coaching. Steve Kerr is another guy. And JB, I think, is one of those guys that you see he's really coaching these guys. And he is bringing the energy. He's bringing the enthusiasm. He's got them committed to playing hard, nasty ball, playing defense, and doing the intangibles. And so I love Coach JB. I was critical of him the other day about how much he argues with the officials and his poor record on challenges, and I'm going to continue to criticize that. But again, before you come for me in the comments, understand I am pro JB. In no world do I think he is the wrong coach, or that we should get rid of him, or that anything like that. But nobody's perfect. There's always room to improve, and my job is to bring it to you straight every day on the things that I'm seeing. Of course, you can always disagree with me in the comments, but we talked a little bit about how JB is in the officials' ear so much that sometimes it's causing him to not get calls that we might normally get. I think it does have an impact on the challenges, and I think it can start to build a lack of trust with officials and maybe even players. I don't know that I've seen it build a lack of trust with players, but we're just not getting some of that. So I think where JB needs to improve is on that, picking his battles. Someone came and said, well, what about Tom Izzo? How come he doesn't, he's in the ear of the officials? And I got to be honest, I love Izzo, great coach, but I'm a Michigan fan, so I don't watch a lot of Michigan State basketball. So if Tom Izzo's like that, I don't know. Someone said, what about Phil Jackson? I don't really recall Phil Jackson arguing with officials a lot. He was pretty calm, the Zen master. But a lot of those guys pick their battles. I'm not saying never argue with the officials, but I think choosing the right times. And I think JB can improve there. But overall, phenomenal coach, phenomenal season, is right now, in my opinion, Coach of the Year. and I would not want another coach for this squad. He is the guy. And so just understand that even though I have strong opinions, I still think JB is a great coach, and I think the sky is the limit, and it's only up from here. So congratulations, JB Bickerstaff, on being NBA Coach of the Month, and we can't wait to see what's yet to come. Looking to bounce back for Friday night's game. Excited about it. We'll bring you some more information about that tomorrow. But another back-to-back this weekend. It's George Blaha night at the I almost said the Palace. I missed the Palace. I don't know if you guys missed the Palace. That was a great arena, and it was only 40 minutes from my house. Great parking, so I missed the Palace. But Little Caesars is incredible too. So first 20,000 fans, no, not 20,000. First 2,500 fans in the arena get a George Blaha bobblehead. Unfortunately, I will not be at the game, but I really want one of those George Blaha bobbleheads. So if you get one and you're willing to part with it, let me know in the comments. I might be willing to pay for that. But let's bounce back. Let's get back from this this ugly win. Let's try to figure out some ways to beat this zone defense, and we'll have a better game Friday night. So what are your thoughts about the loss? Tell me what you think about Giannis. Did you see the injury? Do you think it's an Achilles? If you heard anything else, let me know in the comments. Who do you think Giannis would fit well with? Do you want to see him stay in Milwaukee? Would you give up some Pistons to have him on our team? Who should he go to? And then, let's let Cade and JB know in the comments how much we appreciate them. Let's show some love to them in the comments this week. Congratulations to Cade and JB on Coach and Player of the Month. It's exciting. So that's all I got for you tonight, for today. Please remember to subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. We appreciate your support. Leave us a 5-star review. Keep supporting the channel. You can follow me over on TikTok at Real Tony Nash and Instagram at Real Tony Nash. I put a lot of Pistons content on there as well, and would love to get to know you a little bit more. So thanks for joining me tonight. And as always, Detroit basketball. Let's go, baby.